The Lion King. What some people have proclaimed to be the pinnacle of Disney animation, to this day is still the highest grossing hand-drawn animated film ever. And it's not only my favorite Disney feature animated film, quite possibly my favorite movie ever. The Lion King has always had a special place in my heart since the first day I saw it. My parents told me that I dragged them to the theater to watch it 3 times before it came out on VHS. And keep in mind, I was only around 3 years old at this time. Then of course, when we got this movie, I watched it so much that I almost broke our VHS tape. And so much so, I've actually memorized this movie word for word. And I don't think I'll ever forget it. It's kind of embedded into my memory now. And I think a big chunk of one of the reasons I love this movie is my fascination with African wildlife. I don't talk about it a lot on my main channel or really here outside of live streams. I am obsessed with African wildlife. I'll watch every African wildlife documentary I can find. I love all wildlife, but African wildlife is something very special. And I don't know what came first, my love of African wildlife or my love of The Lion King, but I fell in love with both around the same time. So I don't know what spawned it, but yeah, that played a big part in my love of The Lion King. And so much so, I finally got to live my dream last year and go on an African safari, and let me tell you guys something, that was the greatest trip of my entire life. And I will be going back to Africa. It was so moving. I was in tears in parts. It was so good. But yeah, even through all the stuff that has come out about The Lion King, whether it be the Broadway musical, shows at the theme parks, direct-to-video sequels, the Timon and Pumbaa TV show, or even the show on Disney Junior, I gotta be real, I've loved everything Lion King. Yes, even the 2019 remake. Is it nearly as good as the animated movie? Not even close. Are there a lot of genuine criticisms to have? 100%. But I can't lie, I still had fun with it. I'm so biased towards The Lion King. And we'll see if the new Mufasa movie follows that trend, but I don't know. We'll see. But throughout it all, I still think the original one is still the best thing that has ever happened with The Lion King. And there's so much to love with this. And for me, this movie only gets better with age. The older I get, the more I appreciate it for completely different reasons. So let's dive into this big retrospective of my favorite animated film of all time, and maybe my favorite movie, period, The Lion King. So the history of this movie I find just utterly fascinating. Based on a lot of the reading that I've done about Disney and the studio, there is a lot that happened around the production of The Lion King. First of all, the original idea came from Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was watching a nature documentary, who saw that there was this big war between lions and hyenas. And yeah, that's a legitimate thing, that there is this huge rivalry between lions and hyenas in real life. They will often go after each other, like lions will go after young hyenas will go after young lions, they'll try to steal food from each other. They hate each other. Like, they really just hate the fact that the other one exists and is nearby. Which, I mean, does make sense. They do play a similar niche in the ecosystem of Africa. A lot of people think that hyenas are strictly scavengers, but they're not. They're avid hunters who will often scavenge, same as lions. So they fill the same niche, they're close to the same size, so yeah, they butt heads all the time. So Jeffrey Katzenberg said, we need to make a movie about this. And over time, that eventually turned into what The Lion King became. But this was an original story, and an original story was really risky for Disney at this time, because at this point, they'd never made a truly original story. Like, they had put their own spin on existing stories, but there's never been a story that Disney just developed from the ground up on its own. It was always, oh, let's do Snow White, but our way. Let's do Cinderella, but our way. Let's do The Jungle Book, but our way. This was, let's make a story from nothing. Now granted, later it basically just became Hamlet with lions, but he didn't start that way, so take that as you will. Which, that in and of itself, kind of put Lion King at a disadvantage. Then, when they were getting animators to decide what film they wanted to go work on, there was a breakfast where the executives came up and explained 2 movies that they needed animators for. One, they sold as West Side Story meets Native Americans, that it was going to be a huge hit. Pocahontas, they had all the faith in the world around it. But then they talked about this other little movie that was kind of an experiment. They kind of didn't know where it wanted to go. But this movie about lions in Africa, so yeah, you can imagine where most of the top talent went. So even though Lion King was being made by one of the biggest animation studios in the entire world, it was still an underdog in the eyes of Disney themselves. This ragtag group of animators and storytellers were all trying to make this story happen. But in my humble and biased opinion, I think they ended up making one of the greatest pieces of animation that to this day has ever existed. I think this animation is still gorgeous. I think it holds up extremely well today. I still think it's some of the best 2D animation that I've ever seen. And I love its balance of realism and fantasy. These are truly stylized animals, but they're based so much in real anatomy. And these lions move more or less like a real lion would move. The hyenas, Timon, Pumbaa, yes, they're all stylized. Yes, they all do things that real animals can't do. But there is a base of realism in all of them, which I think adds so much believability to this world. So now let's talk about the Circle of Life, you guys. The opening of the entire movie. This, in my opinion, is the greatest opening to any movie ever. Fight me. When a film can use just its intro as the trailer, that's telling you something. They explain so much with no dialogue. Yes, there is singing over the Circle of Life, but, you know, the singer is not saying what's happening. It's so amazing how you understand everything that's happening, that this is a ceremony ushering in the new prince of the Pride Lands. And it's grand, and it's huge, and it's epic, and it sucks you into this world. Now that I've experienced for myself, I can tell you the landscapes and the atmosphere and the beauty of this nature is so accurate to what's really in Africa. These beautiful rivers and lakes, Mount Kilimanjaro, weight and power of the elephants behind the guinea fowl running up in front of them, the huge herds of zebras, elegance and gracefulness of the giraffes, the dainty leap of the gazelles. Everything is captured so beautifully. And just the second you hear the Zulu chant at the beginning of the movie, you are in Africa. And that's amazing. And it's all these reasons and more why The Circle of Life is my favorite song from the entire movie, and probably my favorite Disney song. Yeah, you guys remember a few years ago on the main channel when I did the Try Not to Sing Disney challenge and I kept saying, I don't want them to play my kryptonite? This is my kryptonite. The Circle of Life is my kryptonite. That's the song I was referring to. Y'all finally got an answer after all these years. Yay! And now let's also give a shout out and love to all the other songs and say what's amazing about them, because they're all fantastic. I Just Can't Wait to Be King is so much fun. It's upbeat, it's exciting, and it really does a great job of explaining who Simba is right now. And I guess this is his quote-unquote I want song. He wants these responsibilities that he's promised that he's going to have without really realizing the repercussions of what will happen when he gets there, which it's inadvertently setting up this great idea, because on one hand, yeah, when you're a kid, all you want to do is grow up until you actually grow up, and then you wish you never wished that. But it's true though. And that's the really cool thing about this song. It is an I want song. He does want to become king, but later on, whenever he's an adult, he doesn't actually want to be king anymore. Well, at least not for the same reasons. When he's a kid, he wants to be the king because he thinks he has no rules, can do whatever he wants. When he's an adult, he realizes he needs to become king to grow up and accept his responsibilities. It's really nuanced when you think about it from that perspective, and that just makes it all the more engaging and exciting. Next up, Be Prepared. An incredible villain song, one of the best that we've ever had. It not only builds lyrically, musically, but also visually as all of these rocks just shoot up from the ground. It doesn't make a lot of sense realistically, but I don't care. It's amazing to see. There's so much power and conniving, and you genuinely are scared because he's got a literal hyena army. How can this not work? And then it kind of does. So, yeah. Scar's an amazing villain, but we're going to get to that in a little bit. Also, Hakuna Matata, a perfect way to explain what happens to Simba at this time. He is distraught by too many emotions. He doesn't know how to process them. He doesn't know how to deal with his grief. He doesn't know how to do anything. So instead of doing anything to grow or mature to get better, he just kind of forgets his worries and just lives with this warthog and meerkat in the middle of nowhere and has a fun life. And the fact they made it fun and catchy and engaging, you understand why Simba's like, shoot, let's do this. I don't have to worry about the responsibilities of being a king, dealing with the fact I may or may not have murdered my father. This is a catchy melody, and these guys seem cool, so life goal achieved. And then we have Can You Feel the Love Tonight, which I'm a little butthurt that this won the Academy Award over Circle of Life, but yeah, they still gave it to The Lion King and Circle of Life still got nominated, so I will reserve that judgment. This might be a little heresy right now, but I think this might be my least favorite song in the entire movie. Okay, hear me out! I'm not at all trying to say the song is a bad song. It's a wonderful song. It's well written, the lyrics are amazing, the melody is fantastic, but I do really have a problem with it because I think that the whole love aspect in The Lion King is probably its weakest element. The main reason that Nala has returned into the story is to tell Simba what's happened back in the Pride Lands. That Scar's taken over, he let the hyenas go nuts, and there's basically nothing left of the Pride Lands, and that he needs to go and take his place. You could do all that without the romance element with Simba and Nala. Now, granted, I'm not saying it's bad that they included it, but I'm saying there's not a whole lot of reason they should be together. It's kind of like they met each other again, they're all infatuated, and they're just immediately singing this love song now. And then the rest of the movie unfolds and you almost never mention it again. So I think really its relevance to the movie is why I'm not the biggest fan of it, as opposed to the song itself. It kind of just feels like the pretty song that has to happen to start the chain of events that leads Simba to go home. And I'm really glad Elton John fought to make sure that Timon and Pumbaa did not sing this entire song. Believe it or not, that was what was originally going to happen. They were going to sing the whole song, and Elton John was furious, like, no, they could start it, but they're not singing the whole song. Which I, for one, say was an amazing call, because that would have made the love story even worse. But while we're on the subject of music, we have to talk about Hans Zimmer's score for this movie. It is just phenomenal. It delivers this amazing melancholy melody that has so much pull and emotion into it, and he even said that he wrote a lot of this music near the death of his father, and he was thinking about it as he was writing this music, and you can feel the emotion and the turmoil, everything that's there, but also the beauty and the joy of life around you. Oh, it is just so well done. I will never get these themes out of my head. The beautiful sweeping melody over the Pride Lands, or the majesty of Mufasa returning in the clouds. Oh, there's just so much here. And then the Broadway musical went and turned some of the best themes from his score into songs, with songs like Shadowland that Nala sings and Endless Night for Simba. Just, oh my gosh, why did these two not get included in the live-action remake? I want to hear Beyonce sing Shadowland! And then, of course, we can't talk about the music of The Lion King without talking about Le Bohème, who did he's the voice you hear at the beginning of the movie, the Nazigonia, that guy, that's Le Bohème. And he did so much of the music on this movie to help bring Africa to the music, and he even made a whole album by music that was inspired by, or they were deleted songs from The Lion King, called Rhythm of the Pride Lands. Y'all need to listen to it, it's so good! But now, we've talked about the music, let's start talking about these characters. Let's start with Scar, possibly one of the best Disney villains ever, because he achieved his goal. How many villains can say they achieved their goals? Now, did Scar fully achieve his goal to the nth degree? No, because Simba was not, taken out by the hyenas the same day Mufasa was. But still, he got Mufasa out of the way. He got Simba gone. So he was the king of Pride Rock for, I'm trying to think how long a young lion's life is. He probably goes from cubhood to adulthood in maybe 5 years. So, yeah, he was king for like 5 years. That's something. He's just so deliciously evil that all he wants is power and control, and that even when he gets it, he doesn't fully seem satisfied, almost like the reason he loved doing it wasn't for the power in and of itself, was just to make sure he exerted his power over others. So he almost seems bored until Simba comes back and you see that spark reignite. He's like, ooh, someone who I get to put under my thumb, someone I get to exert more power over. And oh, it's so terrifying and devious, and I love it! And Mufasa might be one of the best animated fathers ever. He has such an amazing balance of power and strength, but also emotional vulnerability. He'll come up and tell Simba his greatest fears when Simba thinks he has none. And that doesn't make Mufasa look weak. It makes him look strong. It makes him look engaged. And that's such a powerful message to show what a father is supposed to look like. They can be strong and powerful, but they also should be emotionally vulnerable, expressing their love of their children, expressing what makes them afraid, so that way it makes the child feel less alone. It makes them feel heard and respected, and just, Mufasa's so well done. I'm so sad we don't have more screen time with him. Then we gotta talk about Simba. The older I get, the more I understand Simba. When I was a kid, I totally got him as a kid. It's like, yeah, why wouldn't you want to be king? That sounds amazing. But when he got older, I never really quite understood why he wouldn't go back to the Pride Lands immediately. But the older I've gotten, the more that makes a lot of sense. The more you often just want to run from life and its responsibilities. And the older I've gotten, the more I understand what Simba did, and the more I see just how hard it was for him to have to face all this again. There's a great understated strength underneath Simba's entire character that I never fully understood until recently, and wow, that just makes this story come even more alive, even though I didn't think it could do that, but here we are. And Timon and Pumbaa, let's go to them. They might be the perfect sidekicks. They're fun, they're funny, they're engaging, they're charming, but they never get to annoying territory, at least for me. Because honestly, I don't feel like they're trying to crack jokes half the time. I wouldn't say they're the funniest duo, but I think they're the most charming of all the sidekicks. And to me, charm goes a lot further than funny. I don't need to be laughing at you laugh out loud, but I do want to smile every time you're on screen because there's something about you that just makes me happy to have you around. And I think Timon and Pumbaa do that flawlessly. So I have to start wrapping this video up here, or else I'm going to be talking about them forever. I just adore this movie. And these are just a few of the many reasons why I adore The Lion King in any facet. No matter how it's presented to me, this will be just my favorite story ever. It feels like it was tailor-made to me, to my loves and my interests. I know it wasn't, but it feels like it was. And there has not been a single movie or a piece of entertainment that has ever impacted me creatively as much as The Lion King has. I will always return to this, and this will always be my favorite movie. I can't imagine any other movie taking its place. So, long live the king. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments. Are you also a giant fan of The Lion King? Is this your favorite animated movie, or maybe something else is? Let me know. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!